Infected is finally back in BO6, and as much as I love the mod and I love that it's back, there is some issues and things that need to be addressed, I feel like. Just a little disclaimer, English is not my main language, and when I talk too much, especially in English, my accent tends to be way worse, and it's also way harder to understand me. So I'm going to put subtitles down to make sure you understand everything. Yes, I know, more complaining and more talking about a subject that I might have talked about in the past, but I really feel like it's important to make the game mod I love and a lot of people love as balanced as possible while keeping it fun. The subject that I'm going to talk about in this video is some personal subject that most of the community share based on like previous opinion from people inside the infected community, but there might be some little things that maybe some other people don't agree with. That's why I sorted what needs to be fixed into multiple categories. The first one will be the needed changes. So in my opinion, it's like the changes that everybody agree upon and what will make infected way better right now, at least in BO6. The second one will be some recommended or like less important quality of life changes that I personally think will make the game a bit better, a bit more balanced, but I also think that the majority of the player base will share that sentiment. A third one will be some personal opinions that I either don't understand or feel like should maybe get fixed or addressed or maybe tweaked a bit. Right now, the biggest issue with BO6 Infected is clearly the drop rates. The amount of game where the first infected gets chosen, dies, and there's already a drop is insane. I think that does happen to 75% of the game. That means that you can start a game, the first infected gets chosen, if he dies and drops a full power, 23 players can put a proximity mine somewhere on the map. Let's say those people are super smart, right? They all place a proximity mine on a very good spot, not next to each other, not like 10 proximity mine on the same spot. That will mean that that first infected will have to run through those proximity mine, hope it doesn't blow up, while trying to survive getting shot at by other people, and try to kill someone with only a tomahawk because there's no way he get close enough to someone. That's too much. That's way too much. Same for like the max ammo. You can play your full game while spamming, not caring about your bullet, and be fine. I think it's a bit sad because you don't really need scavenger. That means that you don't really have to play smart. You can camp on a certain spot your whole game and be fine. Insta kill is also very problematic. The fact that you can start a game, be first or like 2 or 3 infected and be one shot because one of you dropped an insta kill upon dying is insane to me. So that's why I feel like there should be way less drops. Obviously, max ammo and full power should be way more rare. You can cut down to 50%, even like 60% the drop rate, and I feel like it will be completely fine. It should not be something that's too OP and helps you too much. I think it should be there sometimes, but not too much. And for insta kill, I think it should be an even bigger nerf. It should only be when there's like what, 8 players left. I think around that time, maybe when the game is halfway dead, right? 12v12, maybe insta-kill can start spawning. And even then, it should not be a lot of insta-kills. It should be like very rare or a bit rare. Because yeah, for example, have you seen the nuke I just got? Well, let's go back and see how I got that nuke.
Hostile. Knock them back. Yes. Enemy field upgrade. 15 in the mud. Insta Kill. Smoke them. Eyes on enemy. Tossing blast trap.
Even though I wasn't playing the worst ever, my nuke got carried by insta-kill. And even though it's cool to get a nuke, if those 2 insta-kill did not happen during the game, I would have not got the nuke. I was playing sort of well, putting myself on the proper spot to get a lot of kills, but at the same time, those insta-kills completely carried me. And that's my main complaint. It's the fact that I did not play well the whole game and got rewarded by an insta-kill to help me with a few kills. It's the fact that most of my kills were only thanks to the insta-kill, and I didn't have to work for it. So yeah, that's why I think it should be nerfed to an occasional rare lucky thing to have, rather than being the main thing that gets you the nuke. But yeah, enough with the drops. Another issue I have is the timer. I want to point out that I feel like all of those biggest issues work together to make each other worse and make the gameplay a bit worse. But yeah, for the timer, you get 10 seconds per kill, and it's clearly not enough. I said that it was tied to other issues because let's say you start the game and you did struggle a bit, sadly, because you missed a few combat hacks, you didn't have the best spawn, there was a few drops that did not help you. Well, there's 30 seconds left, and finally you get your kill. Nice, but then it only adds 10 seconds. So you go from like 30 seconds left to 40. By the time you respawn and you go back to like the action, there's going to be again 30 seconds left. If you don't get super lucky and chain those kills, the game will probably end because there's not enough time. The amount of games where there's what, 10, 20 seconds left, someone dies. If you don't play ultra aggressive and you don't get super lucky with the kills, it's just a super frustrating time. And I feel like sometimes it's a bit too annoying having such few times left and not enough reward for a kill. Another issue that we have are the spawns. I feel like that in previous Infected, smaller maps like Rust had a lot of different spawns, but right now in BO6, I feel like most of the maps have too few spawns that result in spawn kills. Let's take Extraction for example. Even though the map is fairly big, the Infected will mainly spawn on 2 spots, meaning that on the Infected side you'll get spawn killed, and it's not going to be very fun for both sides. There should be way more spawns everywhere around the map. Okay, watch. Half of the map is empty. The issue is clearly because there's no real spawn location except like a few one per map, and it's mainly group spawn. You spawn next to where your teammates are. Something tied with the spawns and the spawn kills are the lack of tac insert. Right now the tac insert is as a field upgrade, and most of the times you'll use your tac insert once per game. You'll never have enough time to recharge the field upgrade. That's a big issue because if you cannot get your tac insert easily, you're going to get spawn trapped. So giving the ability to Infected to spawn somewhere else to make it easier for them is something that's clearly needed. Even if you don't change the spawns on every map, you can just give the Infected a tactical insertion every life to ensure that they have a chance to spawn somewhere else. Another big issue on the Infected side is the lack of weapon when you are first infected. Again, it's all tied together, but spawning on the same spot alone with no weapons, probably one shot, is a bit too much because you'll have to get so lucky to get that tomahawk kills, get the game going. Even if we don't talk about very specific cases like that, spawning with no weapon is a bit hard as the first infected. Something else that I don't like about Infected and other party mods is the fact that they come and go without really staying on the game. Right now Infected is back, sure, but as a playlist. Last week, Gun Game was added back as a playlist, but I feel like Infected took Gun Game's spot. But the issue is that eventually, maybe in Season 3, some new playlist will appear and Infected will just go away again. But yeah, that will be annoying because why not just put the mod in the Quickplay filters? I don't know if there's a limit about how much mod you can have in the Quickplay to not have like a super long list. The game mode was gone for what, 2.5 months? That's insane for a mod that came out the week the game dropped. Okay, so now we'll go into more of like recommended changes. It's not needed for the game mode to be better, but as someone that played Infected a lot in the past, I feel like those changes will make the mod better overall. The first one will be the baseball bat, because tell me when was the last time you saw a survivor using the baseball bat after the start of the game? If you don't count people that are grinding the baseball bat for camos, tell me when it is useful. Sadly, never, because it's a 2-tap weapon. It's very unlikely you'll be able to chain kills with that. You might get a few lucky kills if there's only one infected in front of you, but then after that, when there's more than 2 or 3 infected, it's completely impossible to do anything. So having a knife or like any one-shot melee will be infinitely better. And I'm not joking, but it will help a lot the last player when they get 200 HP. Using the melee when you're last is super useful and a super good strategy if of course you run around, but not even being able to do that is a bit annoying. Something else regarding loadout will be having more loadouts. I know that I keep bringing that up every time I talk about Infected, but the main issue is that 3 loadouts is not enough to make the game fun every game. It becomes redundant very quick. Right now, we don't even have a shotgun loadout, a sniper loadout, or anything else. So because all of the already available loadouts are automatic, mid to long range weapons, the gameplay loop is very redundant. You don't have to use shotguns and play a different way. You don't have to use snipers and play a different way again. So having more variety will change the gameplay a lot and make it more fun. Something else regarding the loadouts again are the infected melee. The fact that those are fists and not a knife makes makes it so every time you try to get close to a survivor as infected, you slide close to them, well, you're going to have a huge delay before you can knife, so it can be a bit frustrating. I feel like the delay between sliding and using the fist should be lowered a lot. Some personal opinions of mine / nitpicking will be, I don't really get why the zombies and vermin are in infected. Again, the idea is very fun. I do understand that they wanted to implement some zombie stuff into infected because that's sort of like the same idea, but right now it mostly feel like multiplayer zombies, or like zombies in the multiplayer mode rather than infected. The zombies are just annoying distraction. I did talk about putting the zombies as a kill streak for infected, for example. Let's say you have a 2 kill streak as an infected, you could spawn a few zombies randomly on the map. That could be a fun idea. So let's say you have 20 infected plus 4 players left. There is going to be what, 30, 40, 50 maybe zombies at the same time? I'm exaggerating the numbers, but let's say you have 20 more zombies. That's not too much, right? I feel like there's more. That means that there's 40 enemies you have to kill. 40 enemies. Like, it's not infected anymore. It's like zombies in multiplayer. And I personally think that it should not be like that. It sort of lose the infected identity when there's too much stuff that's too close to zombies. Like, again, the idea of drops is fine. If it was a kill streak, I would have been more than fine with it, as it would have not been too much, but right now there's way too much zombies, way too much vermins. But at the same time, some people do not agree with me, because some people recommended to add the manglers in infected. That will completely lose the identity of infected. It will just make zombies in multiplayer maps. I think there was a zombie mod for that in Cold War called either Outbreak or something else, and I think that should not be infected. That should be its own separate mod. That's why I think the zombies are not needed right now with how they work. Some other little annoying details could be that on certain maps the sound effects are a bit too loud for the drops. With the abundance of drops, it can be a bit annoying and a bit too loud. And on some other maps like Skyline, the real infected player don't have the red aura around them, so it's a bit hard to differentiate the real players from the zombies. A tiny last little issue in my opinion will be the green tint that you have as a survivor when you play the mod. It makes some of the map way darker and a bit harder for the visibility. Not that much on the survivor side. Where it's worse is on the infected side. Sometimes you can barely see what you're looking at, especially on darker maps. So if that could get either removed for the green tint on survivor or maybe lowered for the infected side, that would be very nice. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up everything I wanted to talk about BO6 Infected. I hope I made myself clear with some of the points. There might be some other issues that I either not talk about or forgot, but I did talk about the main issues. But I really hope that BO6 Infected will get fixed in the near future. Feel free to comment about anything you might disagree about or to maybe add more context. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys in the next one.